What's going on, guys? It's Luke here from Simbox, and welcome to the Let's Talk Boxing podcast. As always, I'm your host. You can find me on Twitter at Luke_Simbox, and I am joined by the big platform working Josh. Josh Hart, how are we doing, Josh? Welcome back to the podcast. It's a massive fight week. Really excited to get into today's show.
I'm very, very good, Luke. It's good to be back. A busy few weeks in a different way. Instead of me, obviously, let's cast our minds back to like this time last year. I'd probably be on a train right now on the back from some sort of event. But life's moved forward. We're doing new things now. But no, I'm very good, very excited for this weekend. It's a massive week. Probably the biggest fight week I've been able to experience in boxing, probably in my lifetime, even before I was in boxing. It's the first time in my lifetime anyway that I've witnessed an undisputed heavyweight showdown. If no one else gets cut this week, we've already seen one Fury get cut. If the actual Fury gets cut again, I think there'll be some very unhappy people. But no, I'm very good, very excited, and yeah, just excited to just sit here and talk about Fury Usyk for 40 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone that's watching on YouTube, listening on our usual podcast platforms, if you've been living under a rock, we're of course alluding to May 18th, the undisputed heavyweight world title fight going down in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Tyson Fury, the defending WBC heavyweight world champion, is taking on the fellow undefeated heavyweight Alexander Usyk, who holds the IBO, IBF, WBA, and WBO heavyweight straps. We will crown a undisputed heavyweight champion for the first time in the four belt era and for the first time since 1999 when Lennox Lewis defeated Evander Holyfield. And Josh, for a long time, undisputed seemed to be this holy grail in boxing. We didn't really have too many undisputed champions. Bernard Hopkins springs to mind when he beat Jermaine Taylor, and then over these past few years, you've seen the likes of a new go back to back undisputed. We've got Terence Crawford became undisputed. Josh Taylor, of course. Alexander Usyk at cruiserweight. Clarissa Shields, Katie Taylor. It is becoming more and more recognized and more achievable. These big fights are actually happening now, these unifications and undisputed fights. But there's something about the blue ribbon division in the heavyweights. We longed for it for so long. We thought it was going to be Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. Then we thought it was going to be Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. As it is, it's Tyson Fury and it's Alexander Usyk. And it's just got all the ingredients of a mega event. It started already, of course, with the antics of John Fury yesterday clashing with Team Usyk, and although it's not very good to see. It's not my cup of tea anyway, and I think it brings boxing into disrepute. But it's almost elevated it to another level because it's hitting mainstream media. So just everything about this, Josh, it just screams mega event, doesn't it? So it's almost like a moment in history, regardless of who wins. As long as there's no controversy, of course, on Saturday, we want a clean winner either way. We will get into the breakdown of the fight and our predictions ultimately. But yeah, barring any controversy, it's a moment in history, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. This like you say, this is history. This is a fight week that is going to be remembered for years and years and years to come. We'll still be talking like, let's say, the way people, obviously not necessarily myself because I wasn't growing up around this time, but the way people probably talk about Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield, that's the way I'm going to be talking about Fury Usyk. But there's just so much more glitz and glamour with Fury Usyk. You got to think whenever you see a fight go to Saudi now, it's something special. It's got an incredibly good undercard that I've only really realised today. When you sit down and actually look at the fights that we've got on Saturday night, I'm not gonna say you're gonna forget Fury Usyk's happening because you're not. But sometimes, let's say, put this card on in the UK, you're gonna have an undercard of four rounders, six rounders, and if you're lucky, you might get a nice 8 round co-main event. But here we've got Jai Opetaia versus Maris Bradis too, a rematch, a fight of the year contender in 2022. Then you've got Joe Cordina versus Anthony Cacace, a fight that I feel like it's been spoken about for a while now. And they finally meet. Then you've got His Excellency's favourite fighter, Mark Chamberlain. You've got Ajit Caballero versus Frank Sanchez. That's a really good fight for me as well. I don't know what it is, but I absolutely, not to go on a massive ramble, but I absolutely love Ajit Caballero for some reason. I think he's a great fighter. Mosde Talma in a first world title fight, not world title, in a first title fight. Let's not get too ahead of
Yeah.
ourselves now.
That will come
But
in years to come. It's on the way.
exactly, it's nearly there. But no, it is just everything about this fight week's going to be magical. Um, and yeah, I'm fully in agreement with we want a clean winner. I don't want to sit here or even where I'll be sat in London or just near London in my case. I don't want to be sat there doing some immediate reaction interviews with people and going, oh, well, this is history, but history's been ruined because someone's been given a dodgy decision. Um, I have my worries about it already. Um, but we'll just have to wait and see. But no, history is getting made this weekend. When you strip it all down, you just look at the raw minerals. History's getting made because we're going to see the first undisputed heavyweight world champion of the four belt era, the first one in 25 years, and it is going to be incredible. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. But you know what? Let's start there, Josh, and we'll grab the bull by the horns in terms of the potential for controversy, if you like. I think there is that feeling. I don't know if it is controversy as such, but there could be scorecards that are disputed given the fighters that are in the fight in Tyson Fury and Usyk. You've got two master operators there, two guys that are master boxers. They're very fleet-footed, they're very technical. You know, if you look at the likes of say Tyson Fury against Deontay Wilder, everyone had this predisposition that it's either going to be a Deontay Wilder knockout or you're going to have Tyson Fury win on points. When it's two technically gifted athletes like it is with Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk, that does open the door for subjective scoring. And I think for me, that's where the controversy might come from. I hope that these discussions with the referee and the fighters and the teams beforehand, and we get a clear indication from the ref, like this is a low blow, this is not a low blow. I'm going to allow this kind of inside fighting, not this kind of inside fighting, and that the barometers or the barometers are set early, so we know what kind of fight we're in for, and it's not left to second guess after the fight because we've seen obviously Usyk Dubois and everything that it's totally undermined Usyk's victory because Daniel Dubois is a young, powerful heavyweight on the way up, and Usyk dispatched of him in quite comfortable fashion. Aside from that fifth round, but that fifth round is all everyone talks about. We don't talk about the magnitude of the victory for Alexander Usyk, but I do think that these kind of fighters that they are so good that it is going to be so evenly contested does slightly open the door for controversy in terms of subjective scoring.
I mean, I think what it is like you say, but when you look at a fight between, let's say, Fury and Wilder, it's an easy fight to score because Wilder would sit there and load up and just wait for that opening. Fury would have to be on it for 12 rounds and be, alert at all times. Whereas this, it is two very, like you say, very slick, very skilled, very tactical operators. Um, but their styles are nothing alike, and that's the thing. These judges aren't going to just score, who's landing more. They're going to score what they're enjoying to see.
Yeah,
And it is two completely different styles where one of them might be like, oh, Fury, he's keeping himself nice at range here, but then Usyk might be doing his bobbing in and out of range and just picking him apart as it goes on. Um, and I think that opens the door up for unexpectancy. Like I think a lot of people were saying this fight is going to go the distance, or Fury's going to just beat him down, walk him down, and stop him. I think Fury would be daft to walk Usyk down. I really do think he'd be daft to do that. I think if you try walk Usyk down, Usyk can box off the back foot. Let's not take the mick now. He can box any way he wants. I'm not saying he can box any way he wants against Fury, but he can do it all. He's been in boxing for longer than I've been on this planet. He's going to understand how to get around a ring. Um, and I could see Usyk possibly, if Fury wants to take that approach, I wouldn't be surprised if Usyk walked him onto something, whether that's a body shot. I know it's going to be probably awfully hard to hurt Fury to the body because I don't think I've ever recalled seeing him hurt to the body. Um, but again, one thing I've noticed when you sit there and scrolling through Twitter, you keep seeing these videos of Fury getting dropped, and it's always by a little awkward southpaw, a little little loop in overhand, and it always just catches him. And it's the way he defends. Obviously, he's a completely different fighter now. But if we're going off the classic old saying, you're only as good as your last performance, Fury would get pasted this weekend if he was like that. But you can already see by the shape he's in, that we're not going to get that. I am rambling on again, so let's try switch it back to talk about the scoring. Um, yeah,
I think
I
sorry,
guess.
not to cut you off, and I was just thinking about it now as you was talking, and not to compare the fighters because Fury and Usyk aren't the fighters that I'm going to compare it to, but in terms of recent memory, going back to this idea of there could be controversy, I think Gennady Golovkin against Canelo too. Now we know number one was very controversial. Canelo, for many people, was beaten there and it was scored a draw. But in that second fight, I had Canelo a close but clear winner. And a lot of people still scored that second fight to Golovkin, and now Canelo and Golovkin aren't the same kind of fighter. And like I say, I'm not comparing Canelo and Golovkin to Fury and Usyk, but in terms of that elite level boxing, that's where the controversy comes from because a lot of people watch that and score what Golovkin was doing because they prefer that style of fighting, and that's where I think it can lead to on Saturday night.
Yeah, no, 100%. Another thing I was looking at as well, I was watching TNT. They put like a little breakdown video out. And one thing that I've noticed Usyk is quite susceptible to is the right hand. You can always kind of see it. He'll come in and he'll have like this little circular motion with his
Yeah,
hand. And then as he's going back out, he don't pick his hands up and he gets caught. Obviously, I know it's never really come to affect him because he's never lost. But again, then again, you could say if you could take those punches from someone like Anthony Joshua, but when you look at those fights with Anthony Joshua and Usyk, either Usyk's as hard as nails or Anthony Joshua just didn't seem to have any power in his hands that night. Um, but I don't know. There's just so many different things that can happen. But at the same time, my head is saying this fight is going to go 12 rounds, and I feel like it's going to be an awfully boring fight to watch. But I'm going to watch it because it's history. But at the same time, sometimes when you see two elite level fighters come to face each other. I mean, let's think about this like Spence Crawford. One of them might just crumble on the night and the other one looks superior. But at the same time, we could see a real 50-50. And who knows, we might end up just seeing an absolute bloodbath scrap and something where the fans are like, okay, this is good. Um, but there's so many different outcomes on Saturday night, man. There's so many different outcomes. I'm genuinely I'm like everyone else. I bet we could sit here now and we're going to get to prediction time in what, 20 minutes.
yeah.
And I'm still not going to have decided me winner. I'm still going to be sat there and we'll have to add another 5 minutes onto this because I'll be sat there just tossing and turning, trying to think who's going to win. And that's the excitement with this fight.
Josh, I've already thought that when it comes to your prediction that you'll flip flop. We've had it on previous podcasts, so we're fully expecting it. Our listeners will be fully expecting it. But I think there's a couple of things as well, the intangibles with this fight that lead to it being it could have so many different outcomes. The fact that each man are fighting, in my opinion, and in the majority of opinions, they're taking on their toughest task to date. I think Usyk's going to be the best fighter Tyson Fury's fought. Usyk's going to be fighting his toughest opponent in Tyson Fury. And both guys, and it's not really being brought up so much because they are elite operators and they've got solid mindsets, but they're coming in under a cloud of judgment. Maybe more so Tyson Fury because his fight against Francis Ngannou was on a higher platform than Usyk against Dubois. But that performance, and of course, I'm going to edge my bets in what I'm saying here, but that left a lot of question marks over Tyson Fury. He wasn't in the greatest conditions, and there's a lot of reasoning behind that. Maybe he took his eye off the ball with Ngannou. Maybe he didn't see him as a credible threat, whatever it might be. And then you've got Alexander Usyk, who come in and now he's been questioned, is he weak to the body because of over 400 fights combined with his amateur and professional career. He's been hurt once or twice, which if you used to work the percentages out on that is so minute, it's almost not even worth looking into. But people are looking into it when you're looking for routes to victory. The flip side to that, when I said I'm going to edge my bets, is that with this fight being such high magnitude, with the guys being so solid in their mindsets, that it's going to bring the best out in them. So even though they're coming in, some people question are they on the decline. They're a few years older now. They've had tough fights. They're also showmen. They're also is it going to bring the best out in them? That fear factor. Certainly for Tyson Fury, I think Alexander Usyk is the consummate professional. He takes every opponent serious. Tyson Fury, we know, can take his foot off the gas. We've seen it with the likes of Derek Chisora when he fought him for the third time and whatnot, with Francis Ngannou, that he can kind of coast in fights. But I think Alexander Usyk poses that kind of threat that we've not seen since maybe certainly the second fight against Deontay Wilder. The third fight, we've seen Fury go down a couple of times. Did he take his eye off the ball there with Wilder? He didn't need that fear factor against Dillian White. He totally outclassed him. It wasn't there against Derek Chisora, and it certainly wasn't there against Francis Ngannou. So are both fighters on the decline? And does that really matter if the fear factor's there for either man?
Again, I think I hadn't really thought of it the way you've just said it there. I hadn't. It's like Fury seems to be one of those fighters that, and I'm not saying this is the case, but sometimes it looks like he struggles massively to motivate himself for fights. I don't know what happened there. But no, he looks like someone like you talk to him about a fight, and obviously some people just don't like interviews, and Fury's probably one of those guys. But when you ask him about the fight, he never sounds interested to me because, but then again, maybe he's not interested because this is routine for him. This isn't the glamorous lifestyle of being a boxer. He knew this was what he was destined for. So he's there. And it's kind of like the reason why he had that massive slip when he beat Klitschko. He would kind of reach the top of the hill and kind of just didn't know where to go. Because once you've reached that top bit, he was just confused. Some people say he didn't receive the love from the British public that they were expecting, especially when you bring over a new heavyweight world champion, and not just like it's not like when, let's say, Dubois won the regular belt against Trevor Bryan. You know, he beat Vladimir Klitschko, an 11-year reigning champion. Um, and yeah, he always pulls it out of the bag and pulls out some sort of performance and always
When
gets
his
his
back's
hand up.
against the wall, yeah. When his back's
Yeah,
against the wall, like you say, yeah.
exactly. Um, but then again, it's like you've got to get yourself motivated for this
Yeah.
one. But I was listening to an interview that he did with Charlie Parsons on the Stomping Ground earlier. And again, he said none of this matters to him. He doesn't care what people think once he leaves this planet. He doesn't care what legacy he leaves behind. And it was all just stuff like this. And it's like, imagine you're sat there, yeah, and Saturday night you're getting in the ring with one of the toughest men you've ever faced, someone that no one's ever been able to break down, someone that has boxing fans in awe every time you watch him. Because again, similarly to Fury, Usyk always finds a way. Okay, there was a lot of controversy with the Dubois fight, but I'm not being funny. Just because he had those 4 minutes on the floor doesn't mean he was back to 100% when he got up. No one's ever going to be back to 100% after you get hit, especially like that. Low or not, we're not going to go back into that debate because that'll be a whole separate episode if I start doing that. Um, but he still found a way to get him out of there. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Dubois was up on the cards or anything. Um, but he still found a way to not just beat him, but get him out of there. And it took away a bit of the controversy while doing it. Because while there was that moment that was controversial, he still found a way to get through. And it's not like he just won it on a dodgy points. He got Dubois out there. Dubois, didn't seem like he wanted to fight anymore. Um, and that's just the excitement with this fight is they've both had their back against the wall and came through. But what's going to happen this time? What like because it's again it's something new. It's something completely different. They both know how much it's online because normally when you get Usyk and Fury in a fight week, 9 times out of 10 the attention is on them. Especially when we look at Fury and Ngannou. While that was a spectacle of an event, all the talk was Fury Usyk in December. If Fury gets through unscathed, which he will, he'll fight him in December. And then Fury's head probably went off that. He probably completely forgot that Ngannou he was fighting Ngannou. He was kind of like, oh, I'm just here to sell this Usyk fight. And then had almost the worst night of his life where it was this close to all being gone. Genuinely, if he lost that fight against Ngannou, we wouldn't be sat here today. We wouldn't have had that big announcement for February. We probably would have seen Fury and Ngannou too, and then we would have probably seen Fury splatter him. What AJ did respectably in inside 2 rounds. Um, but no, I can't. We've seen both of them come through the adversity as well. But again, it's that extra pressure this weekend of knowing you're this close now. This is what they've worked for so long, and they're both, on the doorstep now. They're knocking on the door to having that glory and being an undisputed heavyweight champion. And I think every little detail matters going into this. I feel like that's why they're both in the shape of their lives. I know all the talk's been about Fury and the shape he's in, but look, compare Usyk to the way in against the Dubois and the shape he's in this week, and there's good difference there as well.
Yeah.
Um, and I do feel we're going to see or not, we're going to see them both in the best shape, but it's not just how you are physically, it's all about up here as well. If they're not okay mentally or they feel just a little bit of the pressure and the other one doesn't, then it could all go out the window. Like I said earlier, look at Spence Crawford, a fight that we've been brewing for years. We got it and we thought we were going to see a really, really close fight. And it was just an absolute paste in from Crawford. So could that happen this weekend? I'm still not sure. I'm going to keep trying to think of a prediction. But no, honest, I'll tell you now, when I say I'm excited, man, it's going to be incredible. It's going to be incredible.
Oh, absolutely. Like you say, man, we was fully tuned in to fight week. I had a little holiday last week, and I was back to the 9 to 5 job today. And as soon as Monday of fight week rolls around, I was straight into reading every article I could find. I was watching every YouTube video possible, all the content on Sky Sports, TNT, the zone, and that's the great thing about this Saudi deal. Along with the great cards as you mentioned earlier, filled with undercard fights that are headline worthy fights in their own right. All the different platforms are producing content now because they're all rivaling each other. So there's plenty of content out there. And even today, I finished my shift at work and straight home, grabbed a couple of Red Bulls, and I couldn't get on to Zoom quick enough to get this podcast recorded because I just wanted to chat about it. So the excitement certainly is there, and there was a bit of a feeling of a non-event. I don't know whether that's the general conception of the fights fell through a couple of times, and you didn't know if Fury was going to be caught, if Usyk might have picked up an injury. So then when fight week come around, it's almost like, right, okay, we can get excited about this now. The fight is coming up, and that leads on to what I was going to mention, which is now I've been critical of Tyson Fury in the past on my personal social medias, on Twitter via Simbox, and I think I used to take Fury's word is literal, and I used to be critical of him. One week he'd come out and say it's not about the money. He drives an '07 Passat, and then a couple of days later you'd see him in a Porsche or a Lamborghini, and he's within his rights to go and spend his money that he's earned inside the ring in the toughest sport in the world. He can spend his money however he likes, but it was the constant contradictions, and as time has gone past, I've kind of just not been bothered by it too much. It kind of is what it is. I'll still make comments, but at the same time, I've also always championed him when it comes to his performances in the ring. And I think, we mentioned about him having his back against the wall. That's where he does deliver. And that's when I am most excited to watch Tyson Fury, to listen to Tyson Fury, take all the showmanship out of it and the bullshit and the contradictions, because they're always going to be there. It's similar to Usyk. Usyk's never going to be the loud, brash, outspoken, swearing and disrespectful or whatnot. You're not going to get that from him. Tyson Fury, on the other hand, is going to be a bit more controversial. So I kind of take that to one side now and focus on Tyson Fury, the fighter. And as I say, Tyson Fury, the fighter, when he's not motivated, isn't the greatest watch. But Tyson Fury, when he is on the money, you talk defeating Klitschko 8, 9 years ago now, 26, 27 years of age. Wasn't the greatest watch, but it was a great performance. It was a great win. And then, of course, the Deontay Wilder trilogy, getting that draw the first time around and then absolutely demolishing him in the following two fights. And that's the Tyson Fury I'm hoping we get on Saturday. Now he's back, is against the wall, Josh. And as we move on, I just wanted to touch on Tyson Fury's mindset in terms of this criticism. Not, I say, just myself, but he was on the up for so long, winning Commonwealth titles, British titles, European titles, Irish heavyweight titles. Then he gets the fight against Klitschko, who was undisputedly the number one in the division and a long reigning heavyweight world champion, defeats him. And at that point, Tyson Fury himself has said he's accomplished everything he wanted in the sport. World titles and defeating Klitschko. They was the two goals that he had for such a long time. We know about his troubles out of the ring. He then comes back, and the way he went around his business with Deontay Wilder, doing things that he said he was going to do, that we thought was a suicide mission, standing toe to toe with the biggest heavyweight puncher of all time. That mystique, we can't forget that mystique about Deontay Wilder that was there at the time. That, it's not aged so well because of the loss to Joe Parker and whatnot. But at the time, it was a suicide mission the way he went in against Deontay Wilder. And then all of a sudden, he's on Netflix, he's on ITV documentaries, he's everywhere. And he was the darling of the British public. That's waning a little bit now. And the fights with Anthony Joshua not happening. A lot of people put that down to Tyson Fury and these self-imposed deadlines. The pullouts with the Usyk fight when it was meant to happen at Christmas, then the cut. These aren't things necessarily at fault of Tyson Fury, but that he's getting the public perception is that he is to blame. And now he's kind of, again, it goes back to that mindset of he's back to the wall, that he's got a point to prove and he's got to win everybody all over again. He's done it against Klitschko, he's done it against Wilder, and now he's almost battling public perception. And to him, he'll say it doesn't matter, but deep down somewhere, he's a showman. We go back to it again. He's a showman. That respect of the public, I do think resonates with him, and I do think he likes the positive attention. Otherwise, he wouldn't go and put his public life on Netflix for everybody to view, and he wouldn't do all these books and whatever else, which again is fully within his rights to do. I think that adds another layer to the mindset of Tyson Fury. We go on so much about, he destroyed Klitschko out of the ring, he destroyed Wilder out of the ring. These two guys were long reigning heavyweight world champions, and they were so befuddled before they even got through the ropes the fight was almost won for Tyson, especially in that second Wilder fight. I think that adds another layer and makes him not a wounded animal, but he's a more dangerous proposition for Usyk. Now he's got even if he doesn't care about belts, maybe he cares about respect, and that makes him an even more dangerous prospect for Usyk, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, genuinely, yeah, listening to you there, it just started making me think of when when we all stayed up to watch Fury Wilder 2, and he stops Wilder, and you go on social media, and absolutely everyone is saying there's no one better than this man. He's the best, and he loves the British public. We've seen that when he boxed on St George's Day at Wembley Stadium in front against Dillian White. Um, you could see how happy he was that day. The ring walk, you could see he was just taking it all in.
Yeah,
After the fight, he sat there for ages after the fight, just talking, trying to stay and saying how much he loves the people that have come out to watch him. Um, and when you mention the things that he's got stick for, some of them can be avoided and some of them can't. For example, the cutting sparring, okay, that can't be avoided. It's not like he's gone out his way and you had all these bullshit rumors of people saying, "Oh yeah, Fury cut himself." No one would ever do that.
but it
Honestly,
gained traction though, Josh. It gained traction, didn't it?
yeah, it gained
Yeah.
traction, but again, I think it's such a
It was
daft
almost the
remark.
culmination, wasn't it? It was the straw that broke the camel's back at that point.
Yeah, no, 100%. Obviously, the first date, the December 23rd date that we should have got, that could have been avoided if Fury had his eye on the ball against Ngannou. But let's be real, that whole build up to the fight, we were sat there and we were seeing Ngannou content him on the pads, and we were just like,
Yeah,
what the fuck is this man going to offer? And Fury's probably sat there and seen it. He's probably sat there scrolling through his phone like that, just seeing it and going, why the fuck should I train for this? I'm gonna go and sit down and enjoy myself. Um, the self-imposed deadlines, it was something I feel like everyone kind of forgot about those deadlines that he was making for the AJ fight, but I was sat there and I was having a little look at him again the other day, and he didn't just have it against AJ. Remember, he had it against Usyk last year when they negotiated for the Wembley dates and everything, saying, "Oh, you know what? Okay, let's take this rematch clause out." But then Turkey Al Sheikh comes along, a lot more money's been thrown in the pot, and oh look, there's a two-way rematch clause where both of them, regardless of the result, and this is a whole other topic. I'll try and summarize very quickly. I feel like people are forgetting there's a rematch clause, which is good. But when you've got Turkey Al Sheikh saying that he's aiming to put the rematch on for this fight in October before the first fight's even happened, I feel like it takes away that buzz because it's almost like, regardless what happens on Saturday night now, it doesn't matter what happens because they're going to go and have another go in October.
that's it.
And
That's it. And just let me expand on that point for a second, Josh. Sorry to cut you off. And I've not
no, it's
thought of
fine.
it like that because imagine it gets into round nine, round 10, and maybe one of the fighters, let's just say Fury, because we're talking about Fury, and that cut opens back up. And now I'm not questioning Tyson Fury's heart because he's shown time and time again he's got up seven
Oh,
times in his
100%,
career.
100%.
I'm not doubting that in 1 second, but just imagine for a millisecond he goes, "Fuck this, I'll take the rematch. I don't need any more damage to the side.
It,
Let's get this
Joe,
sorted." And if that
Joe, what
rematch
you
clause
reminded me
wasn't
of
there,
there.
if that rematch clause wasn't there, he'd think I need to go for the kill here. There's no backing out.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
It reminds me of Lee Wood versus Richie Lara last year in Nottingham.
yeah,
You know, Lee Wood's mind, it might not be on the fighter's mind. Lee Wood's mind, when Ben Davison threw that towel in,
yeah.
Lee Wood was devastated. You could see he was in tears in the ring, and when he was recovered to a good enough extent, he's gone round and he's really shown his sorrow and appreciation for the fans who've came out. And when you watch the matchroom behind the scenes of that, Ben Davison goes to embrace Lee Wood, and the first thing he goes is, "We've got the rematch clause," and it's different because it's a voluntary defense of
Yeah.
your world title, and I know it's a different circumstance, but this fight doesn't need a rematch clause, if I'm being truly honest. Don't get me wrong, I'm completely happy to see a rematch based on how Saturday night goes. But if Saturday night's an absolute stinker and it's a 118, 110 result to whoever wins, no one's going to sit there and going to want to go like, I want to watch that again. It's like, no
Absolutely,
disrespect
and
to
it's the
him.
fact that it's a mandated rematch clause almost. Where, say, for instance, if Fury goes in and he 118, 110s Usyk, a boring fight, a chess match, something that the boxing purists will enjoy, but your casual fan won't. And he 118, 110s Alexander Usyk. And Usyk, as much as he's won all the accolades, he's not a megastar. He's not the type of person that's going to go and sell out in Las Vegas or in New York. So then when October rolls around, he's going to think, I'll take the rematch. Fuck it, I'm cashing out. It's not what the public want. The public want Fury against AJ, which will be the fight that everyone will clamour for if Tyson Fury is dominant on Saturday. But Usyk will just throw a spanner in the works the way Deontay Wilder did with a court of
I was
arbitration.
about to
Yeah,
say that. I
you
was
know, and
about to
it'll
say
fuck
that.
up the plans moving forward. So there's a double-ended sword of it. It's good if it's an absolute war and it's an all-time classic, but and rightly so. Either man will dig their heels in, even if they're dominated, even if the blue away in one round. They'll take that immediate rematch because it's the biggest payday they'll have at that point.
Exactly, exactly. That's the thing. Like for them, it's business, and I'm not saying right. Okay, I'm gonna say it's a bad thing for us as fans, but for them, it's you see
Oh yeah,
Fury
we
go.
don't blame the
It's
boxing for it. We don't blame the
yeah, no,
boxers for it. Yeah, it's the
no,
business of
not
boxing
at
again.
all.
Yeah, we
Exactly,
say that all
exactly.
too often.
I know, but it's true. It is
Yeah,
while it's a sport, and it's like any sport that you see at a grassroots level, amateur level, whatever. You do it for the love. But when you know you realize you're somewhat decent at this, kind of like me after the white collar fight. I was like, I'm decent at this. Let me go get in the ring now and see if I'm nah. But they get to that pro stage. You got for example, your elite prospects who get these promotional deals thrown at them. They're almost like, oh, there's a good bit of money here. That's what Fury News are going to be seeing. From what the reports are saying, they're both getting a minimum of 60 million this weekend. Both of them.
yeah,
Um, you got to think, and if it's a similar split going into the rematch, they're both coming off 100 million better beforehand. Imagine, I remember when I was in my absolute lowest of financial situations when McDonald's were not giving me shit and I had absolutely nothing to go off. I was sat there one day, I was sat right here looking at my telly, watching Eddie Hearn interview. My mind just went straight away. Just imagine how he wakes up every morning and checks his bank and there's like millions and millions and millions of pounds. And I'm waking up, I can just about afford a meal deal today, you know. And it's like there's doing it for the passion, but there's so many things you could do. Like for example, I want to be, I don't know, I want to be a fisherman. It's my passion, but if there's no money to make, I'd go do something else. There's probably boxers who are like journeymen, for example. It's easy money for them. And I say, I know we've just completely flipped this to being a business here, but it just shows that the money's going to talk. The
yeah,
money's going to talk. And while we don't want it, while, we could sit there and see an absolute stinker on Saturday, um, they're both going to say yes to it. One of them could get beaten fucking to the point where they can almost hardly walk afterwards. They'll still take that rematch because when you're seeing
exactly.
another 50, 60 million put in front of you, who's going to say no? Who's going to say no for, right, okay, cool. And especially when you're in their position, it's not like me going to you and saying, right, Luke, uh, imagine you're Jake Paul here. Right, so you're going to go box Mike Tyson. Yeah, but we're going to pay you millions upon millions on millions. If it's just me and you as the average human, I'd probably say no because I do value my life. But if they throw a significant sum of money on top of it,
Yeah,
why would you say no? And I fully
absolutely,
agree with them for doing it. And the rematch clause is there for great protection because win or lose, they're set for they're
absolutely.
not even just them. The families are set for lives. They're set for the rest of their lives after this. I promise you now, not their kids, their grandkids, grandkids. They won't need to work. There's so much money in those families now.
So, Josh, I know it's the part where you dislike it the most, I might say. And I've got a feeling we're both kind of dealing with splinters here because we've been sat on the fence throughout this podcast. We focus mainly on Tyson Fury. I just want to quickly mention, Alexander Usyk is a bona fide Hall of Famer in his own right with his accomplishments at cruiserweight. You can't take that away from him. He's an ultimate professional. The way he's went around winning his world titles in the backyards of all of his opponents for these world titles at cruiserweight, what he's done up at heavyweight, defeating Anthony Joshua not once but twice soundly. But we've got to make a prediction as always. So the prediction over to you first, Josh. 30 seconds. Give me your Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk prediction. 30 seconds. Go.
Draw. I'm locking in a draw. I can't split it. Right, if I'm going to give you a genuine prediction, and I'm not going to go into a massive rant like the last one, I'm going to say Fury on a split decision because I feel like it's going to be a razor close fight. But I'm just thinking of who does Saudi favour more, and it's Fury. You can see it. Look at that more compressor. Turkey Al Sheikh's on the phone to type. He's not even in Morecambe, and he's still making an appearance somehow. I'm going to stop there. Fury split decision.
Okay, okay, interesting. All right, so my prediction will also be available on the YouTube channel. I'm going to drop that as well. I'm with you. It's going to be super tight. I'm hoping for no controversy, no favourable decisions. I think the weigh-in's going to be very telling. I think the weight's going to be huge because I thought Tyson Fury was going to come in big in the hopes of leaning on Alexander Usyk, but it seems that he's coming
He's
in
coming in
lean.
lighter.
Yeah, Usyk also looks like he's coming in lean. So if that's the case, and they're both aiming to make this a chess match, I favour Alexander Usyk, and I give this to Alexander Usyk by way of 115, 113, 7 rounds to five, kind of across the board. Wouldn't be surprised either way. Guys, as always, let us know your predictions in the comments below. It's an exciting fight. It's an exciting fight week. We look forward to it. Make sure you check out Josh on social media. Hit the like, subscribe, and comment button. And we will catch you on a review of Saturday night next week. Thanks for listening.
Gosh.